Hello and welcome everyone to today's conversation on coaching certification. This is truly about getting your questions answered in terms of coaching and becoming a coach and getting certified, and we'll talk about the programs. So throughout the conversation, if you have additional questions, please do type them into the chat box. Happy to monitor that all the way through and get those questions answered. One thing in advance, we are recording, and I will put this on YouTube and send all of you a link to the recording so that you can come back to it again if you want to. You'll have that option. So where are we going in the conversation? Our agenda today will define coaching, share some statistics and insights about the profession. We're going to talk through the Staircase to Success coaching model, and then also process how coaching works. We'll talk pros and cons of certification, the reasons people choose certification at the Center for Coaching Certification, what to look for in a training program wherever you go, opportunities as a coach, and then of course a good overview of the programs we offer. So it seems we've done a pretty good job of building in answers to the questions that were submitted ahead of time. And as I mentioned, do add additional questions. And if someone wants to come on live, just put a note in the chat box and I can bring you in live and you can ask your questions. So to get us started, the definition of coaching, and this comes from the International Coaching Federation. And yes, I'm going to share some information on who they are, what they do. And coaching, I love this. We partner with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process. Key in this, in addition to how much fun the thought-provoking and creative are, is that we're there as a partner. Coaching is very different than other professional services in that regard. As a partner, we are not the expert. The client is their own best expert. We are there with the process to support them discovering their own answers and figuring out their own strategies and action plans. And that is how you support them maximizing their own personal and professional potential. So it's an incredible process and absolutely a gift and a privilege to coach someone. So who is the International Coaching Federation? Some of you may be familiar with them, and for others who are newer in exploring coach training and coaching certification, this will be good information for you. It is a nonprofit organization. It is a professional membership organization, so coaching professionals. They are the gold standard in the coaching profession. So yes, there are a lot of different organizations out there, a lot of different schools, etc. ICF, International Coaching Federation, is the largest, and they provide us with our code of ethics for coaches. Members of the ICF are accountable to that code of ethics. They also have standards, and the standards cover approval of training programs. There's standards for membership in the International Coaching Federation. You have to have 60 hours of training to be able to join. And then they have standards for credentialing, and we've got information on the credentialing process as well. So here's what it looks like. The starting point, in terms of, okay, am I a coach? Am I really a coach? Really the gold standard is becoming that member at ICF and having the 60 hours of training. What our analogy is becoming a member of the ICF is much like saying, okay, I got an associate's degree. And then when you go on and earn the first level of credentialing, which is called the ACC, it's much like saying, okay, I got a degree. And the PCC credential is like saying, okay, now I have a master's degree. And then the MCC becomes more like a doctorate degree. So the International Coaching Federation has over 30,000 members, and over 27,000 of them are credentialed and have a credential. The 60 hours of training that you take to become a member is the same 60 hours for the first level of credentialing. In addition to the training, to earn the ACC credential from ICF, you must also have 100 hours of experience as a coach. You'll work with a mentor coach for 10 hours. And part of the mentor coaching is you'll work on having a recording of yourself coaching, and you share that with your mentor coach before you send it to the ICF. And the recording will be assessed based on the competencies of a coach. And when you pass that, then they have you take the exam. Now, the exam is the same at all 3 credential levels. So if you earn one credential and continue on to the next, you don't have to take it again. So that's good news. The other thing to share with you is the training and coaching hours also carry forward. So the 60 hours for the ACC credential are part of the 125 hours for the PCC. Your 100 hours of coaching is part of your 500 hours for the PCC level. The reason I'm going to just pause there is to let you can see this. In order to pursue the MCC credential, you must first earn the PCC credential and hold it for 3 years. So we'll focus on those levels of credentialing. Now, the mentor coaching, if you do it at the ACC level, you do it again at the PCC level. And at the PCC level, you submit 2 recordings of yourself as a coach. And those get assessed based on the competencies. So hopefully that explains the basic process in terms of what happens to become a coach. I'm going to share with you the journey. If you look at the training classes, and we'll put them on the continuum. So the first step for anyone is the Certified Professional Coach Program. That's 30 hours. That's half the time that's required to join the ICF as a member. So our analogy is, that's kind of like saying, I went to high school. The Certified Professional Coach Program is fabulous in terms of the foundation for the skills, the competencies of a coach, and a process for coaching. We see a lot of people take that class that are going to use the skills in other fields. So for example, if somebody's in HR, talent development, organizational development, consulting, training, coaching skills are very much part of what they do. And so they'll take that initial training in support of other jobs or roles. And it's fabulous for that too. Now, those who are going to become a coach and put themselves out there as a coach will continue on and take the Certified Master Coach class. That program is 35 hours. So the 2 combined give you what is required so that you can then join the International Coaching Federation. At that point, you choose, do you want to go toward the ACC or do you want to go toward the PCC? So if you decide to go for the ACC credential first, the next thing you'll be doing is working on 100 hours of experience. We actually recommend that you start that as soon as you complete the Certified Professional Coach Program. Start getting that experience as a coach. Then as you're building up your hours, you'll sign up for the mentor coaching program. That includes 5 group sessions and 3 individual sessions, and really preparing you in terms of your knowledge and your application of the competencies. During mentor coaching, we're working with you on a recording of yourself coaching. What we do is we listen to it as well and tell you, yes, we think it'll pass, or no, we don't, and here's the reason, so that you're confident when you submit it that you're going to be in good shape with the ICF. When the ICF verifies your training, your coaching experience, your mentor coaching, and your recording passes the assessing, they'll give you access to take the exam. And at that point, that's how you earn the credential. Now, you can go from the ACC and continue on to the PCC, or you can simply go straight to the PCC. If you decide to go to the PCC, the next thing you're doing, in addition to building up your experience hours, is the Certified Coach Specialist Program. And that is offered in business coaching, executive coaching, career coaching, life coaching, wellness coaching. And so you're choosing which designation you're pursuing, and your focus in the work you're doing will be in that area. Then there is a coaching experience class, and this is designed for the practice piece of coaching, and it involves individual coaching, group coaching, even more of it than what you do in the other classes. The mentor coaching is there, and then we'll work with you on 2 recordings of yourself coaching. If you did not already take the exam, you'll take that, and that's how you earn the PCC credential. So hopefully that gives you a good, solid understanding of what the process is. Let's move into just information on coaching. Ray Williams cited coaching as the 2nd fastest growing profession, with information technology being the fastest growing. The reason people use coaching, I love this quote. Forbes magazine literally bluntly said, do you have a coach? If not, you could be limiting your career success. And that gets backed up by this research study. Amoco Corporation, which is now part of British Petroleum, did a study for 10 years. I love the longevity of this. And here's what they found. The people that had a coach had improved performance, increased ratings of potential for advancement, and 50% higher average salary increases. That's phenomenal. And they attributed that directly to the coaching. So huge benefit for people having a coach. It is a tool of choice in organizational development. So you see it very commonly when you're working with leaders and high potentials. It's part of what is offered to develop people. The reason coaches get hired, Harvard Business Review put this out, 48% of the time it is to develop high potentials or facilitate transition, the leadership, the change that people are dealing with. 26% of the time, it's to serve as a sounding board. And we see that primarily in the C-suite when you have high-level executives, and it's more about a chance for them to think out loud, to have somebody challenge that thinking and expand that thinking. Now, every once in a while, people have the mistaken impression that, oh, coaching is remedial. It isn't. What I will say, 12% of the time it is used to address a derailing behavior. Let's put that in context. When a company hires a coach, it's an expensive proposition. And so they make that investment because they want somebody to be successful. So where we see it with the derailing behavior is you have a leader or a high potential and they're really good and something is getting in the way. And so the coach works with them to address that so that they are successful in their role. Now, an interesting insight came out of this. Many times people go into coaching and they think, oh, it's only about the job or, the skill set or that kind of thing. And the reality is personal issues get addressed. My guess is this number has continued to rise, and it's probably a lot higher now. And it makes sense because whoever it is you're working with, they're human and they have other things going on in their world. And if they're dealing with financial concerns, health concerns, relationship challenges, whatever else it is, that's going to come to work with them. And having the opportunity to address that means that they do have, when they're at work, the focus and they're on the job. So it's powerful and it's really neat as a coach to support people addressing those things and then turning their focus to work when they're at work. Now, when an individual hires a coach, what are their reasons for doing it? Top reason for individuals is to optimize their own performance and increase their own productivity. So they're setting themselves up to advance in their position. We see it for improving communication skills, expanding career opportunities, which makes a lot of sense, increasing self-esteem. And it's so true that all of us deal with, okay, am I good enough? And the confidence piece, and it gets in the way of our success. So having a coach that supports building that is powerful. Improving their work-life balance, and then business management strategies are additional reasons. So that lets you know people know about coaching more and more, and they look for a coach in these different areas. Fortune magazine gave a statistic on it, and what they said is an average 600% return on investment. 600%. That's phenomenal. And when you see a number like that, you got to say, well, how can anyone not have a coach? Because that return on investment is phenomenal. And there's study after study that shows it. So one of them, very commonly cited, came from Metrics Global. And they said a 529% ROI. And when they added the financial benefit from employee retention, 788% ROI. And this was a study done in the corporate space. There are others similar to this. A different study looked at productivity, and they said training increases productivity 22.4%. When you add coaching, you get an 88% gain. That's huge. 4 times the impact. This was done by Public Personnel Management. And it really begs the question, if an organization is investing in training, how are they not going to add coaching to that? It absolutely makes sense. And increasingly what we're seeing is people that have companies for consulting and going in and doing training programs, et cetera, are adding group coaching packages to their training programs for this very reason. Now, another study was done at Xerox, and they said, if you do training and you don't do follow-up coaching, you're going to lose 87% of the skills gain. And that's huge. So the investment to a large degree is wasted without the coaching. And so it's a powerful tool in organizations. Now, when somebody decides who to hire as a coach, how do they make that choice? Harvard Business Review researched that, and they said, okay, they want to know the coach has experience in a similar setting. What does that mean? They want to know you understand their world. Now, does it have to be in the same industry? For example, if you're coaching somebody in the C-suite, no, not necessarily. They do want to know that you've been in or around the C-suite so that you understand what that world is like. Similarly, depending on what they're doing, what their focus is, they want to know that you get it. The clear methodology, that's what you're looking for in a coach training program. So the experience, you've already got that. Sometimes people, for example, will say, okay, well, I want to be an executive coach. Are you going to teach me that executive side of it? And the response is, you already know that part of it. You've already got the experience you have. What you're looking for is somebody that's really teaching you coaching, the clear methodology for it. And so to give you an example, how does that work? The model, the analogy we're going to use is a staircase to success. So imagine you're building a staircase, and we'll tie that to what building a coaching relationship is. And this very much incorporates what the competencies for a coach are as well. So if you're going to build the staircase, the first thing you're going to do is build the framework for your staircase. And so you set that up. Then in a coaching relationship, it's the same concept. You got to have the framework in place. So what's the framework in coaching? It starts with training, just as with any profession out there. Then, of course, developing the competency. So you learn it and get the practice in so you're competent in it, and having your code of ethics in place. And coaching ethics are different than other codes of ethics. So it's very important to learn those. With the framework in place, you start adding the steps. In a coaching relationship, the first step is an agreement. And we talk about this occurring in 3 stages. The first stage of an agreement is the initial conversation about what coaching is and isn't and how it works. The second stage is a formal agreement. In most parts of the world, that's written. There are parts of the world where a written agreement is not okay. It's not acceptable. And so it's literally a formal verbal agreement. Then the third stage of agreement, and this is so important, is at the beginning of a coaching session. asking the client what it is they want to focus on, what they want to accomplish, how they will know the conversation was successful for them, and exploring that and getting a clear agreement. With that in place, the second step is understanding. And this happens in several different ways. First off, it's incumbent on the coach to understand the client. Who are they? How are they thinking, processing, functioning? What's their context in terms of what they're exploring or working on? It's also important that the coach and the client in that conversation have an understanding of what it is the client wants, what their potential opportunities are, possible barriers, resources available to them, etc. And so truly exploring that all the way through. Now, when you have that understanding, it in fact sets you up for really developing rapport. And rapport between the coach and the client is the number one indicator of success. When you have that rapport, the client is going to be comfortable being open and vulnerable in the conversation. It supports the communication. And so the client sharing, talking, whatever it is, the coach is listening deeply, asking questions. And that in turn supports exploration, the client exploring different possibilities. And through that, they are developing their strategy for how they're moving forward. And that in turn leads them to the doorway called success, and success is defined by the client. So that's how the relationship itself is developed. Now let's talk about the process. How does it actually work? A good best practice in coaching is before you even start a coaching relationship to do an introductory session. The idea behind the introductory session is for the coach to get to know the client to get to know the coach. Hey, are we a good match? Is this going to be a successful engagement, a successful relationship? And in many cases, it's also an opportunity for the client to get a little taste of what coaching is and how it works. At the end of the introductory session, if the client and the coach are both saying, yeah, this is going to work, it's going to be effective, that's when we do the formal agreement piece. And then we move into coaching. Starting the coaching engagement, the opening session, is an ideal opportunity for a big picture exploration of what the client wants in all different areas of their life. What that does is supports the understanding the client, developing the rapport. It also means knowing what their influencing factors are, what their competing priorities are. And then from there, moving into a session, and it's a fabulous process that you learn in the training program, where you're supporting the client in terms of staying focused on what it is they want and fully engaged and motivated to move forward. Because moving forward does take work, and you want them really engaged in that. On an ongoing basis in your coaching engagement, the client will prioritize what it is they want to focus on, work on. The coach supports them as they develop their strategies and define their action plan. And then, of course, recognizing their progress and success along the way. That continues throughout the engagement. The average coaching relationship lasts a year. A best practice is to start with a minimum of 6 sessions and then go from there. So sometimes a client will, well, that's all they got the budget for, or whatever else, and they'll wrap up when those sessions are complete. Other times it's truly serving that client and they'll continue. And so you'll have clients that are short-term, you'll have clients that are longer than the 12 months as well. When it is at a place where the client is complete, they've accomplished what it is they can accomplish with this coaching process, what you're doing as a coach is ensuring they're set up for the long term. How will they maintain and continue to build on what they have achieved? And then we have a closing session, and that's the client talking about what they gained from the relationship as a whole. And as a coach, while we call it a closing session, we're also letting the client know the door's open, because clients do come back. Sometimes months later, sometimes years later, they come back and do coaching again. So that's a big overview of the process. And of course, there's a lot more detail involved in how it works. Let's move to pros and cons of certification. Of course, I want to say it's all pros. Well, there are cons, we know that, so we'll talk about that. First off, in a consumer awareness study, 83% of people who had a coach thought it important for the coach to have certification or a credential. That was 2017. I think as people have become more and more aware, that number is going up. Increasingly, they know that there are people out there who are calling themselves a coach and haven't done training and are not accountable to a code of ethics. And so they're asking, they're finding out more, and the experience is better. So specific pros and cons. On the con side, it takes time to get trained as a coach, and it costs money. That is true of any profession we go into when you think about getting the education, et cetera. So it's a time and money proposition. If it weren't for the time and money, everybody would be doing it, quite frankly. On the pro side, it is a huge career advancement opportunity. So I mentioned there are a number of professions where coaching is a skill set they're expected to have. So it supports them in those professions. It also is become basically a competency for anyone in a leadership capacity. And the reason for that is so many people, how engaged they are on the job, it's tied to who their boss is. And so when you have people who learn coaching skills, they're far more effective as a leader or a boss. So it supports them being successful and advancing their career as well. It is also, of course, a business opportunity. So for those of you who are thinking about doing coaching as a part or a full-time business, wonderful opportunity in that regard. Now, when people are choosing certification, how do you decide? Because there are hundreds of choices for you. So what I'm going to share with you is what they tell us about the reason they chose certification at the Center for Coaching Certification. First off, looking for credibility. And I'll give you some specific things you can look for to determine credibility, because that's a tough one to identify and know. They want coaching tools. And so knowing how much we provide both during the program and afterwards with our login pages full of tools for graduates. They want ongoing support, and we're huge in that regard. We have free continuing education programs. We support people getting published, getting out in front of other people. There's all kinds of things going on for that. A lot of people choose it as a professional development opportunity because in addition to being approved by the International Coaching Federation, we're also an accredited CEU provider. And so for people who have a job that wants it to be a CEU program or have another credential or license that you have to maintain, you can use the credit hours for that as well. Personal development is huge. Again, coaching skills serve you both professionally and personally. I joke that I'm a better mother, grandmother, partner, everything because of learning coaching. And then all graduates are provided assessment dashboards. And so that means you will have access to many, many different assessments, and you'll be able to give those at wholesale, which is huge in a coaching business. And if you're inside an organization, it's a wonderful access point. So the path in terms of moving forward, the professional coach and master coach get you to membership. Add the mentor coaching, and it takes you to the ACC credential in terms of what you want from a school. And then we also support you toward the PCC level. And if you want, the MCC too. Let's dig into some of the specific things to be looking at. So time and money being the big factors, let's address that. First off, there are training programs out there that are a few hours, very inexpensive, not approved or accredited. There are college level programs that people put up to 10 years into in terms of the coaching. So at the Center for Coaching Certification, we're very much designed to build the coaching skills, build the competency, and support you moving toward credentialing. So the Certified Professional Coach program is 30 hours. The Master Coach is 35. The Coach Specialist is also 35, and the Coaching Experience class is 30. So that takes you all the way to PCC in terms of required training hours, if that's what you want to do. As far as location, we do classes in major cities. We go to organizations and do classes. Now, of course, in a pandemic world, good news is we've had online classes since we started over 10 years ago. So yes, there are coach training programs online that supports people that, number one, aren't traveling or don't want to travel. And it also supports, we have a lot of international people in the training programs. And so it's wonderful to have a very diverse group in class. In terms of cost, you'll see across the board in cost, we're really excited. As a matter of fact, one of the things we get told is that we're not charging enough. And we're glad to hear that. We have a good model and it works and it keeps it affordable for people. So the Certified Professional Coach program is $16.95 in US dollars. The Master Coach and Coach Specialist are $19.95 each, and the Coaching Experience class is $18.95. Now, if you want to look at doing the credentialing process, you can do it individually and take each class as you go, or you can do it as a package. So if you're interested in going to the ACC credential, we have a cohort, and you do the professional coach, the master coach, and the mentor coaching as one group and move through to the ACC level. We also have ACC to PCC. So people who have their ACC credential and want to then go on to the PCC, you take the Coach Specialist program and the Coaching Experience class and the mentor coaching, and you put those together and you do it as one group. And then for those that want to go straight to the PCC cohort, it includes all of the programs, and it's over the course of a year, and it's fabulous because as a group, you really develop some fabulous relationships in that cohort. So a lot of fun doing it. And it's probably obvious to you, doing a cohort saves you money, basically. So that's a nice benefit as well. Now, in terms of what to look for, we talked about the credibility piece, and this is huge. So the very first thing wherever you go is make sure it's approved by the International Coach Federation. Very, very significant factor. That tells you, yes, I can use these training hours to move toward membership and a credential and that kind of thing. So look for that. Another significant one is this ACTO logo. And ACTO is the Association of Coach Training Organizations. ACTO is to coach training schools what ICF is to individual coaches. And so it's very much focused on professional development of trainers, of coaches. And that shows you that a school is committed to what they offer. Now, with these two, you're going to have hundreds of choices still. So now I get to share some bragging points that we offer. First off, I mentioned that we are an accredited CEU provider. So the International Association for Continuing Education and Training, that tells you they focus on how a program is designed and delivered. So ICF focuses on the content and it being specific to the coaching. ISET focuses on design and delivery of a program. So that tells you a lot. And the good news is, as I mentioned, if you happen to be in HR and you're a member of SHRM or HRCI, you can use the credit hours to maintain those. They're considered continuing ed for you there. That is also true with ATD. We've had nurses, financial planners, attorneys, people from all walks use these training hours as continuing education in their other professional capacities. Many colleges and universities will accept the credits as well. We are also, through 2020, because PMI is changing this, we're approved by the Project Management Institute in terms of offering continuing ed. They're changing how they're doing that in 21, so it'll be different there. We are also approved by the Association of Image Consultants International. So looking at an organization, determining credibility, really look at what they offer. As far as approvals, accreditations, et cetera. That tells you a lot on the credibility. Now, more I can share with you. The student body at the Center for Coaching Certification includes people who are members of the Association for Talent Development, the Society for Human Resource Management, the Human Resource Certification Institute, Financial Planners Association, National Small Business Association, the Association of Image Consultants International. We do see a lot of International Coaching Federation members come, whether they're doing continuing education or they're moving on to another credential. So we have a lot from there. Members of the International Association for Continuing Education and Training as well, mental health professionals, consultants, project managers. So hopefully you're getting a sense that the student body is educated, experienced, sophisticated group. And that's fabulous because a lot of the learning that happens during your training program comes from the other people in the class with you because you're having those rich conversations and discussions. And so it's a huge value add, having just incredible people in the program that we see. Bottom line is people that go to coach training have a passion for empowering others and really serving. So that's a fun part of it. Now, whatever class you take, it is very important to know that you're learning the core competencies of coach. So let's overview what those are. They're organized into 4 different areas. The first area is foundation. And within the foundation, there's 2 competencies: demonstrating the ethical practice and embodies a coaching mindset. And with these competencies, there's very specific things that come along. There's full definitions and subpoints to it, and you learn those in a training program. That's much like we talked about the framework for the staircase. Co-creating the relationship includes doing the agreement with your client. We talked about the different stages of that, and cultivating trust and safety. As you recall, the rapport being the #1 indicator of success. Knowing as a coach what you can do to really support that trust and safety in the relationship, and then maintains presence, really being there and in the moment with the client. Our third area of competency is communicating effectively. The competencies there include listens actively. And as a coach, it's listening to what they say and to what they don't say. It's listening over time to what's going on, the trends and patterns, etc. It's very deep listening. And then evoking awareness, and that's through the questions and the exploration that occurs in a coaching conversation. The fourth area of competency is cultivating learning and growth, and very specifically facilitating client growth. That occurs through some of the questions we ask, literally inviting them to reflect on what they're noticing about themselves or their situation, the learning they're gaining, and how they're using that and applying that as they move forward. So these are your competencies. It is so important to know that whatever training program you go to, you're going to develop these skill areas. At the Center for Coaching Certification, our model, we call it the 3 C's. Got to play on the acronym for the company itself. So the first area is competence. And what we're looking at is you're coming to a program with strengths and skills in place already, and we're building on those and enhancing those. There's a synergy between what you have and really developing them in terms of application for coaching. Confidence is essential in a coaching relationship. For it to be successful, both the coach and the client have got to be confident in the coach, confident in the coaching process, and confident in the client's ability to do it. So in the program, providing you with tools for enhancing that, for being aware of it, and how to empower that with your client. And then, of course, coaching is all about choice. It's client choice. So you're supporting them to discover and strategize as a partner so that they're the ones making the choices and the decisions. Who's going to benefit from coach training? Oh, it's so easy to say, everyone. The thing is, I really believe that. So of course I get way too excited and passionate about it. Leaders, trainers, educators, consultants, managers, HR professionals, project managers, service providers, business owners, we all gain from coaching skills. In terms of career opportunities, I mentioned earlier the reality that when people are at work, their level of engagement and productivity is tied directly to who their boss is and how well they work with their boss. It is also a known fact that when people quit a job, they're not quitting the company, they're quitting their boss. And so as a career opportunity, if you're in a leadership role, it's huge. It's also, of course, supporting your effectiveness in different professions. As far as skill development, these are skills we all benefit from. The communication skills that are learned in coach training are fabulous. Your listening, your assertive language, being clear and direct and respectful in how you say what you say, and then how you ask questions. The people skills, recognizing different personal styles and knowing how to flex to different people. And then, of course, goal setting in a way that actually supports change and motivates the follow through on it, because how you set your goals does make a difference. So fabulous skills. In terms of the business opportunity for coaching, the hourly cost for a coach ranges from $100 to $3,500 US. Now, please keep in mind, money being different in different parts of the world, that can vary. So this is based on US. The median is $500 an hour. Currently, 2.356 billion US dollars are spent on coaching each year. And according to the ICF, as of end of last year, we haven't seen this year's study yet, they had 34,617 member coaches. Over 30,000 of them had a credential. So the vast majority go toward that credentialing avenue. So in terms of a business, it can be an add-on service to go with training or consulting programs. It can be a part-time business for people or a full-time business. Digging into the programs themselves, the classes, what's covered, what do you get out of it? So the Certified Professional Coach Program, we start with online classes. We're using, the trainers use either Zoom or GoToWebinar. And in those classes, the first one is called About Coaching. So we're talking about what coaching is and is not, to really gain the clarity of, okay, exactly what it is, because it's commonly misunderstood. And then we also dig into the competencies and do an overview of them. And part of, you'll see there's homework with each of these. You're going to self-evaluate on the competencies too. Then we do a class on ethics, and we have fun in that class. I love ethics classes. We'll talk about different scenarios and discuss, things that come up or occur. And so come ready to have a good time with that conversation. Understanding your client is a fabulous tool for you in terms of recognizing how your client is thinking, processing, and functioning, and then how to adjust to that. It's also one you want to be ready for laughing, because when we're talking about people, well, we're all kind of interesting creatures, if you will. So come ready to laugh and have fun with that. The communication class is fabulous in terms of very specific techniques for how you listen, for how you say what you say, and for how you ask your questions. And wow, just that one piece on how to ask coaching questions, the whole thing's worth it because it's amazing. Then there's a class on focus and motivation. And this is wonderful in terms of really understanding. So it's recognizing how the client is learning and processing information, digging into their language patterns and how that influences us, and then also thought patterns and the impact that has. With each of these classes, you'll have a homework assignment. The first 2 classes, there's additional research you're doing. The next 3 classes, you're going to literally practice the techniques that are taught in class, and you're going to practice those with colleagues, with friends, family members, whoever it is, and write about what happens when you use those techniques. Then we do a group session, and that is an opportunity to ask questions, whatever you want to ask, really get solid and clear on things, get a sneak peek at resources that are coming as well. Then you move into the coaching practicum. It's a total of 16 hours. You'll be a coach, you'll be a client, and you'll have a chance to observe. You'll move from an introductory session to an opening session to session 2, 3, 4. And then we also do a discussion around some questions that are used with the client in terms of setting up that coaching relationship. At the end of the practicum, you'll do a case study, and we walk through it with you. It is open book, and it serves as your final for the class. When those are complete, you graduate. And after certification, we do have a free monthly Q&A call for all graduates. That's available to you. We also have on your login page, amongst the other tools, there's a recorded program on the business of coaching, another one on marketing yourself as a coach, recorded coaching sessions that you can go in and listen to. And then, of course, we do the free continuing education to support you maintaining your certification. When you go on to the Master Coach class, that program, again, we start with our classes, the online. The first one is group and team coaching. And the reason we start with that is because we do group and team coaching all the way through. What will happen is for one of the group sessions, you'll coach or co-coach with another classmate, everybody else that's in class. And so you'll be involved in planning it, setting it up, and actually managing the group coaching. And so it's a fabulous experience. It also means that the other group sessions that are scheduled, you'll be one of the clients in the group and experience different approaches and ways of doing it. The feedback we get on the group and team coaching when people complete this class is that wow, I hadn't really thought about that as an opportunity, and now I'm absolutely including that as an offering in what I do. It makes a ton of sense for coaches to do group and team coaching. Then we move into a class on ethics and agreements, and we're doing a deeper dive in terms of the application of the competencies in coaching process, in people and communication, and in creating change with confidence. So each of those 4 classes, we go specifically into one of the 4 areas of competency. We talk about what we don't want to do. We talk about what we do want to do in terms of applying that competency throughout our engagement as a coach. Then the last class we do is called Time and Money. And just like time and money are the cons for coach training, time and money are influencing factors for clients on all their decisions. Whether or not they're said out loud, it's something that's running through people's mind. We have a final debrief because you'll do individual and group coaching, and we'll talk about takeaways from it. The homework in the Master Coach class, we take your report and we cut it in half. You do half before class and half after class. It's a fabulous way for supporting the learning because you're writing about, okay, here's what I know ahead of time. You have the class, and then you go from there and add to it. So it's really effective. We'll give you specific questions that you're going to respond to. The practicum part of it in the Master Coach program, I mentioned the group coaching that's going to happen. Then you also will do individual coaching. And the process there is fabulous. What you do is you'll all share your bio of yourself as a coach. You'll get a chance to read everybody else's bio, and then you'll put down who you want to interview as a prospective coach. And you'll be interviewing 3 classmates looking for your coach. And then you're involved in saying who you want as a coach. Now, of course, we hope to give everybody their first choice. So we do go on a first come, first serve, and we make sure everybody has a coach and is coached, that kind of thing. So you're involved in really going through the process as it occurs with clients in when you're outside of your training class. So it's really fun. When you schedule your interviews in your coaching session, it's you, it's the person you're working with, and your trainer, and that's it. So you get some wonderful straight on attention for that. At the end, you complete a final report. You're writing about a coaching engagement. For the Certified Coach Specialist program, those of you going on to the PCC credential, the first class, we look at the competencies and then a dive into strengths and strength areas as a coach. And one of the things that is included there, and it's a great tool, is identifying all the different knowledge areas depending on the type of coaching you're doing, and really looking at, okay, what do I know? What do I want to know? Et cetera. So there's a great tool that you'll use for that. Then we're digging into what are called the PCC markers. And the PCC markers are specific behaviors that demonstrate the competencies. And so they're how you get evaluated and assessed when you submit a recording of yourself. So in addition to really digging into the competencies, we're going to dig into the markers, the behaviors that demonstrate the competencies. And the format, similar to the previous one, will involve in each of the next 4 classes covering one of the areas of competencies and with that deeper dive. Then the last class we do there is called Challenges and Trends. So what challenges you face, what the trends are in the coaching profession. And we do a debrief of your practicum. With the Coach Specialist program, your pre-work is reading. We actually give you the reading that you'll be doing, and then you'll have homework assignments afterwards. The practicum is very similar to the Master Coach class. There's group coaching, that's part of the schedule for the program, and then the individual coaching where you'll interview classmates, you'll be involved in choosing, you'll schedule your individual sessions. And in this case, we schedule a short opening session, a short closing session, and then 3 coaching sessions that are longer in between. So really an opportunity to go to the next level in terms of what you're doing. And then there's a final report at the end. The coaching experience class, first thing you'll love about this is there's very little in terms of homework that you're doing, so it gets easier that way. We do a class to review the competencies and how do we evaluate coaching that's going to happen. There is the webinar on group and team coaching and setting that up. And there will be 6 group coaching sessions. And then as an individual, you'll have 5 sessions where you coach, you have 5 sessions where you have a coach, and then you will observe 5 sessions via recording of your classmates. Then we do a debrief at the end. So this is truly focused on practice, practice, practice for the coaching. The mentor coaching program, whether you want the ACC, PCC, or MCC credential, includes 3 individual sessions. In the first one, we have a 360 where you ask your clients to fill it out. You fill one out yourself. All of those get submitted, and we review the results of that. We also will use sessions to review your recording or recordings, depending on which credential you're going for, and talk about the PCC markers and the application of them. The 5 group sessions, we discuss the competencies and the markers, and then you get a chance to do mini practice sessions with colleagues in the groups. The resources that are included with all of our programs, all of the class materials. So we have a student login page and you have access to all class materials there. Then when you graduate, you have a coach login page with even more great stuff available to you. We give you the assessment dashboards and it's yours. So once you have it, you can go in and actually brand. For example, if you're going to give somebody a DISC or an emotional intelligence or one of the other assessments, you can brand in your dashboard so that when the report comes out, it has your logo, your name, your phone number right on the report itself. And you get to, your access to it is wholesale. Don't tell your client how cheap it is. You get the advantage of being able to do it at wholesale. If you decide you want to get certified in any of the assessments, you also get a discount on that. So you have options. Another fabulous thing about those dashboards is the resources. There are sample reports, there's facilitator guides, trainer guides, all kinds of great information for using the assessments. The opportunities that we make available to you. So we have a blog and we put out a couple of blogs each week, and we love having you guest blog. And that's a way for you to have another audience that you reach. And we link back to either your LinkedIn profile or we can link back to your website. You can guest present one of our free continuing education programs. Again, an opportunity to get in front of another audience. We also publish a book once a year, and the chapters in the book are written by graduates of the program. So the intention is to support you learning to write for publication and being a published author. And when we publish the book, in the copyright, we grant rights of your chapter right back to you, which means you can take your own chapter and give it away, sell it as a white paper. You can split it up and run it as a blog series on your own blog. You can do whatever you want with it. Our hope is that the process we use for writing that book helps you continue and go on and do even more with it. We actually put you in teams and you share feedback with each other on your chapters. So it's a really fun process. We have an online directory of coaches, and you can list yourself there if you want to. And then we have a business development team that is looking for coaching contracts with organizations, and we place graduates in those opportunities. So lots of good stuff for you. What's next in terms of moving forward? So first off, you invested your time being here, so I'm going to give back on that. If you are interested in 30 minutes, you can use it as a mini coaching session, or if you have additional questions, what'll happen is I'll email you a link to the recording of this on YouTube. You can respond to that email and let me know you want to schedule 30 minutes, and we'll set that up. When you're ready to move forward, the application itself is free. It's a great opportunity to check off, okay, here's what's required to go into the program. Here's what the commitment is. And it's a chance for us to get to know you, because you'll fill in some text in terms of telling us about yourself and your interest in the program. And that's super for the trainers as the starting point. When you are ready to hold a spot in class, and they do fill up. So if there's a schedule and you say, okay, this is the class I want, this is a schedule that works for me, the way to hold your spot is pay for that registration, and that holds your spot in the class. So that is the information I have queued up for you today. I hope I responded to the questions that were submitted ahead of time. I do want to open it up for additional questions. You can put them in the chat box. If you want to come in live, knowing that it is going to go on YouTube, that's okay. We can unmute you and you can come in live if you're brave for that. So what additional questions do all of you have? And I'm just watching for those to come in, and I do see the notes. I'm glad this was helpful, so thank you for those comments. Glad you got some good information out of it. And that's all I'm seeing in there. So what I will say is it seems like we're complete in terms of getting those questions answered. I very much appreciate you being here, and we do look forward to welcoming you to a program and being of service. So thank you, all of you. Have a fabulous weekend. Take care.